afternoon, students.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Darshan, are you sharing anything today?
Yes, ma'am. So today's fact it's going to be about something which we all like. So who doesn't like rain, right? So basically, there is this characteristic smell that we actually obtain when it rains. So that's actually called petrichor, and this is actually because of a particular microorganism which is present in the soil. So what happens when it actually rains? It moisturizes the soil. So in a way, the spores of these actinomycetes, which are present in the soil, gets activated in a way, and they become ready to regenerate. So that is what we smell, and that characteristic smell is actually called petrichor, which I already mentioned. And this actually has proven to actually relax you and your mind to a calmer state. So this is the fact for today, and hope it was fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Darshan. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So, biotech students are you starting it or Jane Preeta is? I think Jane Preeta can start because yours is 3-1, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So, you just start in 1 second and share it with you. Yes, Jane.
Ma'am, shall I
And you want to
present my
present?
PPT? Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
you have your PPT with you. 1 second. I have to stop this.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you do.
Ma'am, can you see my screen, ma'am?
Yes. Can see you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, this is our topic, breaking up long sentences. And I'm Jane Preeta Princy, and these are my classmates Vishnupriya, Judith, Nimit. So, John Kipman quotes that to be easy to digest, sentences must be reasonably short and not too complex. The reasons for this are not grammatical. They are connected with the number of items of information the reader can observe in a single unit or thought. So, why is this chapter important? Short. This this chapter is important since we are learning about how to break up long sentences into shorter sentences. The sentences earns more readers than long sentences. So, in case if your sentence is very long, and if you have any important information in the middle of your in the middle part of your sentence, uh, the reader may miss it, since the focus of the reader will be less in the middle part due to the complexity of your sentence. And the next one is that the journal will be immediately accepted by the referees due to the easy makeup of the sentence and easy understanding of the sentences. Reader's preference. How does a reader prefer a sentence? A reader prefers a sentence in such a way that they only need to read once, and they don't have to read it slowly, and they don't require sentences which has intense concentration to grasp that meaning of that sentence, and can understand the writer's logic by reading word by word rather than understanding it at the end of the sentences. So the average length of sentences are becoming shorter in the over centuries. Like during the age of Shakespeare, it was around 45 words, and about 150 years ago, it was like 29 words. And today, experts they make up a sentence by using 15 to 18 words. So longer sentences will be misunderstood. As the sentences get longer, there are more chances that the meaning will be misunderstood by the reader. So the referee of
No way it could be understood by the reader.
yes, ma'am. Like let's see as this example. Referee of this paper has sorry, like a referee of this paper saw this following sentence and sent back to the author for rewrite. Let's see what he has written. So this is what the author has written. He has written a sentence without any yes, ma'am, without any commas or without pauses. He has written a big sentence, that is, even if the occurrence of this particular form of pulmonary tumor occurs on a rare basis, so it doesn't have any stop, and we couldn't get the meaning of the whole sentence. So the referee of the paper has sent back to the author for writing it for rewriting. So this is what the author rewrote. This particular form of pulmonary tumor appears to be extremely rare. Its behavior is extremely difficult to predict. Moreover, the histological features, which resembles a discrete cell tumor, may mean that a C2 tumor is misdiagnosed as a C1 tumor. It would thus be interesting to characterize these lesions and take them into an account in the differential diagnosis of hereditary or congenital tumors. So this formation of the sentences is easy to read and understand than the previous one. Short sentences. Short sentences are not a sign of inelegance and superficiality. Writing short sentences doesn't mean that the writer doesn't have an elegance or he has only written the superficial information. So this is what some non-native researchers feel that they couldn't express themselves as they would using their own language. So this is true for everyone. So we can't express our thoughts in the same way as we express in our own language. So particularly humanity and social science authors find hard to express the hard facts. They fear to lose some shades of meaning. But what's the case is that even research papers are designed to communicate the findings and not the literary works what they are doing. And moreover, not everyone in the community will have a same level of English understanding. So some shades of meanings may still be lost. Long sentences are not absolutely necessary. It is a myth that complex ideas can only be expressed in complex sentences. It is a myth. It's not true. Like it can also be expressed in simple sentences. Like example, Venice art historian Ernst Gombrich, he wrote most of his book in English rather than German. These books they gained widely accessible art history. It is the most widely accessible art history book ever published, and it gained more readers only because it is written in a clear and simple style. Why and how long sentences are created? So, why long sentences are created? It contains a link or a phrase like moreover, in fact, etc. It can contain some phrases containing specifying characteristics of an object, like a list of items, and one or more semicolon or colon. So let's see some examples. Like in the sentence one, we can see this. We can read this. We did We did several surveys, which all gave the same result. So this sentence is easy to read. When we look at the sentence 2, we did several surveys aimed at investigating whether stress increases in proportion to the number of children a couple has. And each survey, it goes on like this, we can't even understand what the author is trying to tell. But when we separate these sentences, the whole sentence into smaller sentences, the meaning becomes very accurate and clear. We did several surveys aimed at investigating whether stress increases in proportion to the number of children a couple has. Each survey led to the same result, that is, there is no correlation. This confirmed the hypothesis that stress in the family is generally connected to factors other than the size. So, if we write like this, like the one did in the sentence 3, it can give a good understanding to the reader and also reduces the complexity. So next, Vishnu Priya will present.
Good afternoon, I'm Vishnu Priya. Here I'm going to talk about some words like and, as well as, and some important linked words used in these sentences. Let's get into the topic. The first word is an and. And is used in two different ways that helps us to join two verbs and two nouns. For example, the verb is used for writing and speaking, and noun is for representing any languages, like for example, English and Italian languages. And is also used for add some additional information to the content or to the sentences. Next slide. This is an example for the and sentences. This example, the original version. In this original version, the first and is replaced with a full stop. In the reversed version, why? Because it is to reduce the length of the sentence, and the second and can't be replaced simply. So instead, the writer uses also to allow the reader of additional details, and then uses important to recall the concept of effectiveness, where we can see in the reversed version. And my second topic is an as well as. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. As well as, it is used to add more information to the content. If the para contains too many ands, then we can replace it with a word as well as. That will help the reader to reduce their confusion. Using an as well as will create a very long sentence. It is best to break the sentence. Next slide. However, we cannot begin the new sentence with as well as. Instead, here in this example, instead we have to repeat some of the parts of the previous sentence that is shown in the reversed version, where the second point is in continuous with the first point. Next slide. The third one is the link words that will helps us to contrast and compare some of the link words, whereas, although, and however. We cannot break a long sentence and begin with a new link words. Why? Because not all the link words can be used at the beginning of the sentence. For example, whereas is used in between of the two long sentences, then that will helps in the comparison. Then the same, although and the however has the same function as whereas. So they cannot be they will be used in between of the two long sentences. Next slide. In some of the cases, although can be used in the beginning of the sentence, where in the two part of sentences. One part depends on the another. Where the one part is depending on the another, the although is plays a major role in the whole paragraph. In this example, although would not be possible because there is not a dependent loop. So some words like because, since, as, or some of the link words that we used to give an explanation in the middle of the sentence. As already mentioned, if we split the sentence, we cannot able to begin with the new link words. Some other new link words. So the some other link words that will help in the in forming the sentences are moreover, in addition to, and furthermore. Rest of will be continued with Judith.
See, we'll just stop here for some time. Okay, so you have finished two slides here. Okay, so I just want to check whether people are listening. So the first one was actually we are just talking about sentences today. So last time we just completed with words, and now we have just shown to sentences. Why have you taken your PowerPoint? It's okay, you can present again. So tell me, what was the first presentation by Preeta? And someone else brief? It's about the usage of long sentences. I just want to question you something very important. Please go through your project and find out where your full stop is there in the sentence. Sometimes what you would have done, written continuously because you just don't want to break your idea. You just want to keep on writing, and then you write, and where your full stop will be after 10 or 15 lines, you will have a full stop. Okay, sometimes this happens. We write lengthy sentences, and these lengthy sentences, the problem was just beautifully explained by Jane Preeta. Jane Preeta, your presentation was really good. Okay, so you were just explaining. Of course, it was given, but the way you explained it meant a lot. Okay, so very good presentation, Jane Preeta. So you can understand very well that the lengthy sentences will just give a confusion to the reader. Why? Because when you have a long sentence, what will you tend to do? When you just read the long sentence, you will just stick your mind to the center part of your sentence, and you will try to find out the meaning, and you'll be lost. So you will not be able to understand the meaning. So all these lengthy sentences should be shortened. Okay. So according to the meaning, we know what should be there in a sentence. We need a subject, we need a verb, we need an object. We have the direct object and an indirect object. So along with that, maybe you can have your adverb, adjective. So all these can be put together and you can frame a sentence. That is more than enough. Sometimes people, this is actually, it was just mentioned as myth, isn't it? So if you don't use long sentences, people think that you are not intelligent. That is also is wrong. So when we write business letters, we insist that people should have only short sentences and short messages, because business people will not have patience to read all your stories. The same way, when a reader is very particular about your thesis, you have certain things to really share with them. You do it in a straight manner, in short sentences, and finish it up. Okay, so that would be the ideal way of just presenting your thesis. So the advantage of short sentences and the disadvantage of these long sentences was explained. Okay, and how to make them short was also explained. So according to the meaning of the sentence, it can be just divided into short sentences. Okay, so some revised versions were also examples were also given. So how do we create these long sentences? We use phrases. Too many phrases. We use commas. Too many commas. Too many semicolons, and we just continue writing, and then that becomes a lengthy sentence. So this has to be avoided. All these should be avoided. Okay, so that we have seen, and then the second person, Varshini, I think, yes, ma'am.
Vishnupriya, ma'am.
Vishnupriya, sorry, ma'am. Vishnupriya is presenting the second part. So here she is just talking about the connectives and as well as. So far she has just completed and as well as. So and is, and when you have two things, and when you have to join these two things, you always use and. So this is how we have just learned, isn't it? So that is one way of just expressing. And the other one is to join two verbs you can use, and to join two nouns also you can use. Ramu and Radha. Okay. And when you talk about two verbs, also two actions also you can just use. She's singing and playing. Okay, singing and playing. So two verbs also can be just put in there. And okay, if you want to just add, see the way I said, and okay, I just wanted to add something to my point. So I'm just saying and. So if you want to just add information also, you just use this and. As well as is of course an alternative to and. If you're just repeatedly using and, it's better that you switch over to as well as also. So that will help you to have a very standard sentence. So second is as well as, isn't it? So both the ideas that were shared should be similar. Then we use as well as. Okay, both the ideas should be similar. So there we stopped, I think. Am I right, Vishnupriya?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Who is the next person? Judith Rachel.
It's me.
You can share.
Judith.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. So we are continuing with the presentations, and we have seen those some of the linked words, and now we are going to see the words that give explanations. Words like because, since, as, and in fact, it gives explanations to the sentences. Let's see one by one. Words such as since and although, they are often used in subordinate clause at the beginning of a sentence. As you can see the examples, since he didn't study, he didn't pass the exam. So look at the example, the second example. Although it was raining, I went out. So both these words, since and although, they can be used at the beginning of a sentence. And some words like since and as, they require a dependent clause. And when since is used to talk about time, the verb in the main clause is usually in the present tense, present perfect tense, or past perfect. It can be a simple or a continuous tense. An example shown is like, I have been working on this project since the end of the June. So on looking at this example, it is used to talk about the time. And next, we use as to introduce two events happening at the same time. As she left the kitchen, his voice followed her. So here in this example, we can see two events happening at the same time. Then the next word, because. Because introduces clauses of cause and reasons. And we usually write, or we usually have to see the word because came because as in a sentence, like it if it is to point a reason, we use because. And it is a subordinating conjunction, and which means that the clause introduces, it is a subordinate clause which needs a main clause to complete it. So the last example we can see, because they were so tired, they went to bed at 9 p.m. And here the subordinate clause is the first part of the sentence, and the main clause is the second part of the sentence. Next slide. Now we are going to see.
One second, ma'am. To make it very clear, Can you just move to the first slide, the previous slide? Main clause is the main part of your sentence. Okay, so to make it very simple, it is the main part of your sentence. So in the last sentence, if you just say, see, they went to bed. So what is the reason for them to go early to bed? It was because they were tired. So that is the substantiating, or maybe it is just giving a reason for the action that has taken place. So the action, the main action is the main clause, and the reason for the main action will be the subordinate clause. Okay, so that is easy way of understanding it. Okay, yeah, please continue, ma'am.
Words that express consequences. Owing to, due to, as a result of, consequently, and thus are some of the words that express consequences. So these link words are used to explain the reason for something which is being mentioned or which is to be mentioned. Let's see one by one. Owing to, it indicates that something happened as a result of something, or if we need to introduce the reason for what happened, we particularly use owing to. For an example, owing to the extra snow days this year, we'll have to run an additional 2 days into June. And next, due to. The word due to is used to present the reason for a noun. The example shows the traffic jam was due to a terrible accident at the intersection. So here, the word due to is pointed out to present the reason for that particular noun in that sentence. Next, as a result of. It is a compound preposition and makes an adverbial phrase. An example, as a result of the accident, he was out of work for the 3 months. Consequently means as a result. It's like it's like something like it's for a reason. If the example we can see, like, she didn't like the pudding, consequently she threw it all away, and that's the means it as a result of. Consequently can be similarly depicted as a result of. Then thus is used to introduce a logical conclusion uh, for a fact or a reason or a result. Example, it is late and thus we must go. Next slide.
Okay, you just said it is compound proposition, so you must be clear what compound proposition is. So as a result of, you have many words, so together you have more preposition there, then we just call it as compound preposition. Okay, you have two preposition together, then we call it as compound preposition. Okay. Yeah, continue.
Next, we are going to see about the word which and the related clauses. And here, the which is used to add information. We normally use the word which in questions as a determiner and an integrative pronoun to ask for a specific information, like which car is that, or which car are we going in? He has Alexander, or something like. We need to, if we need to point out and ask a question, we normally use the word which. And we usually use the word which in related clauses also to refer to animals and to other things. Like, for example, we have seen a lot of changes which are good for business. We also use the word which to introduce a relative clause when it refers to a whole clause or a sentence. For example, she seemed more talkative than usual, which was because she was nervous. Then we often use which propositions. The word which can be used in different cases. That's what I have pointed here. It can be used to ask a question. Then it can be used with relative clauses to refer to a thing or an animal. Then it can be used to introduce a relative clause which refers to the whole clause or the whole sentence, and it can also be used with prepositions. Next slide. Moving to the ing form, normally writers they link phrases together to use the ing form to join or to form a verb. The ing form is used in past, present, and future continuous tenses. For example, the boys have been playing tennis. If using the ing form, it actually add to the length of a sentence, and you can use another form of the verb and begin a new sentence. So there are two ways to deal with the ing form. The first way is like you can repeat the subject and then change the ing form into the present tense or whatever tense that is appropriate. And the second way is like the ing form is used to indicate is used instead of a relative clause. So in such cases, you can break the sentence immediately before the ing form, and then you can start a new sentence. Next slide. In order to. The word in order to is a subordinate conjunction, and we use in order to with an infinitive form of a verb to express the purpose of something. It introduces a subordinate clause. For example, Mrs. Weaver had to work full time in order to earn a living for herself and her family of 5 years, 5 children. So here the main clause is the first part, and the subordinate clause is the second part. In order to can be used at the beginning of a sentence also. Like in order to play the game, we must have two computers. Next slide. Next slides will be continued by Ninette Verghese. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Ninette. We deals about here about the use of commas, semicolon, and parenthesis. By telling about the excessive number of commas is used to separate various clauses within a sentence. Thus it helps to constantly adjust their thinking. Use of commas in the sentence makes them too long. It is a sign of lazy writing. It indicates the writer does not, he is not clear about in his mind what the content is. And excessive use of commas can be dangerous if we use to build up series of phrases, each describes the previous one. Next slide. Next slide. Use of semicolons. Semicolons are used to show that two parts of the sentence can be. It is a part of the two sentences related to each other. The two semicolons can be easily replaced by full stop with no chance of me with no change of meaning for the reader. If we use semicolon before introducing an additional idea or additional information, we think about using a full stop instead. Semicolon, while reading a paragraph or reading a content, a pause is we pause for each instant in the case of full stop. But in the when we use semicolons, there is no such pauses, and thus it makes the reader a little tired, and so this and makes them tiring for their eyes. And some writers use semicolon in the same way as colon. If your sentence is going to be too long as a result of colon, better to use full stop and begin with new sentence. Next slide. While using semicolons in list, we generally make that says that the two sentences are related to each other. So if your list is coming too long, it is better to divide them to shorter sentences. Next slide. While using phrases in parentheses, it is considered that this increases the length of the sentences. It is best used to give short list that is examples, and parentheses can be avoided when giving explanation or examples which are not in the list. Next slide. From this, we can summarize that this chapter deals about the factors that is, don't separate the subject from its verb using more than 8 to 10 words, and avoid adding extra information to the end of the main clause. The main clause is already about 15 to 20 words, and check and make sure that each sentence is has a maximum of 30 words. If and don't use more than a 30 word sentence, more than 3 or 4 30-word sentence in a bold paper, and consider the beginning of the sentence if the original sentence is long and contains one or more following words such as and, which, and link words such as ing form and in order to form, and maximize the use of full stop, and use minimum number of commas and semicolons and parentheses. And yeah, if we use repeating words, there is no problem. But by using repeating words, we can make the clarity of the paper, which increases the clarity of the paper. Thank you.
Very good, Ninit. It was very clear again. So this is how you have to write. So the sentence should be short. So how can you make it short, and how can you just avoid using certain things is just explained here. Okay, let me ask few questions here. This class I'll just ask some questions. Yes, ma'am? Did anyone say something? How many words did they use during the Shakespeare's time? The presenters, please keep quiet, okay? All 4 people, please keep quiet. Jane, Vishnu, Priya, Judith and Ninit, please keep quiet. I want others to answer. So how many words were there in a sentence during the period of Shakespeare? How many words were used in a sentence?
Ma'am,
30? Are you people listening properly?
Ma'am, 60s, the count is 60.
Oh,
45.
45. Yes, 45. Alicia and yes, yes, 45. Right, good, very good. Some more questions. Why should just give one reason why you should not use longer sentences? One reason for why you should not use longer sentences.
Ma'am, for better understanding, ma'am. When
Okay.
it is when the sentences are shorter, we'll have clearer understanding on what they are actually trying to portray
Very
or
good.
what it means.
Very good, very good, very good, very good, Darshan. And all that, all those who have answered now will keep quiet again, right? Will not be answering again. See whether others have listened actually. Short sentences are not a sign of intelligence or inelegance and superficiality. What is this? Short sentences are not a sign of inelegance. Is that a fact or is that
It's a myth.
it's a myth?
Myth, ma'am.
It's a myth. Very good, very good, very good. Okay. So we have few things uh, through which we create long sentences. Okay, we have few things. So I just want you people to say one by one, and I want each one to say one. All those who have not answered so far. Madhuranjan, Madhuranjani, Madhuranjani. Yeah, just give one. How do we create long sentences? We use certain things. We have seen three. Yes, ma'am? Couldn't hear you properly. Can you please type in the chat box? Vidyasagar? Vishal? Are you people there? Comma, semicolon. Yes. Comma and semicolon. Very good. Other things that we use?
We can create by using a linked word or phrase such as
Very
and,
good. Very good.
as well as.
Very good. Very good. Keep it up. Okay. So where do we use and? We use and in two places, isn't it? Where do we use in a sentence?
To join two verbs.
Okay. Another one?
To give additional info.
Information. Yes, very good, very good. Good. People are listening. What could be used as an alternative for and? What could be used as an alternative for and?
As
As well as.
As well as.
When I would like to give a reason, which connective would be appropriate? If I am trying to give a reason.
Because.
Because is would be appropriate. Okay. If two actions are taking place at the same time, which connective will be appropriate there? Two actions are taking place at the same time. What happened?
As well as.
As well as. The 3 is over, Mama. Have we completed 3?
Yes, ma'am. Chapter 3 is over.
Chapter 3 is over. Very good. Okay, if you would like to add more information or additional information, what Just call it as, we going to call it as connective actually. What phrases can we use? Which words to add additional information? Which
In addition to,
in
furthermore,
addition, furthermore, moreover. Okay. Now, where do we use which, ma? The person who said, where do we use which? It is also to add information, but where you do it is you do it after a comma, and you give some information. You give the main clause, and then you add something to the main clause. Okay. So that will be an extra information more than addition. It will be an extra information about the particular sentence. Okay, so you people are listening, very good. And when we were just now discussing about this ing form, usually what you people do, I don't know, maybe you people are very good in English, so maybe you will not be doing it. And generally, people tend to add ing to all the verbs. Okay, they feel like adding ing to all the verbs, and they just want to give a sentence. They think that it is something very perfect, and it just gives a great look to their writing. But you must be very careful where you have to use the ing form. Okay. Okay. So where do you use in order to? In order to do this, in order to prove.
When completing an action
Okay.
or when you're stating something.
Okay. So when you're trying to explain some methodology or some rationale that you have just adopted to follow some procedure, okay, you use in order to. And you can also use the aim to, in, and attempt to, with the purpose of, that also can be used. Okay. Semicolons can be substituted with
Full stops.
full stops. We call them as periods. Okay. So you can just substitute them so that it makes, or it just forms short sentences, and it will be easy for us to understand. Again, we can avoid all lengthy sentences. Okay, so this is one benefit of this periods or full stops. Right. So there we come to the end of the third chapter. Okay, fourth chapter, who is going to do it? Anu, Sylvia, Arshida, Vidya Sagar, Madhu Ranjani. Are you people ready? You remember who? Okay, you remember who these referees are? Please mute yourself for 2 minutes, no? You remember who these referees are? You remember? So when you send your article for a journal, the people who edit are editors, and the people who take the assistance of their scholars or other people are called as referees. Okay, those people, the scholars are called as referees. Remember that? So you have to satisfy your referees. All these editors, different types of editors or different stages of editors, we call them as referees. So you have to satisfy these people. So you have to know why your paper is rejected, or you must know why it is just not cross the first stage or second stage. So it depends upon the way you write. Okay, so we have seen 3 things now. The fourth thing is about structuring paragraphs and sentences. We'll see what Vidyasagar group has got to say. Yeah, you can present, ma. Who is going to present? Sylvia, Arshita, Vidyasagar, and Madhuranjini.
Ma'am, is my screen visible?
But not now. I think you have to click on the slide. Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Ma'am, shall I start? Structuring paragraphs and sentences. Next slide. The key to good writing. The role that you expect the reader to play and the effort you expect them to make. Reader responsibility, which means the reader is responsible for making all the connections between the sentences, paragraphs, and overall ideas that the author has put down in his or her paper. Writer responsibility, which means the reader is expected to take less effort and can thus hopefully observe the argumentations rapidly. To write the paper well, you need to know exactly how people read. Next slide.
So can we put it in other words that you must know your readers?
Yes.
You must know your readers. If you are going to write something, you must know who your readers are. So that's why they're just asking us to get into the journal and read the aim and objective of the journal. So they have some specific aim, they have some specific objective. So you have to stick to it. So only then your paper will be accepted. Yes.
Nowadays, much reading is done directly from the screen rather from a hard copy. We generally want information fast. When searching on the internet, which we tend to scan. If every sentence you write is structured the same, your writing becomes uneven. Every word you write needs to be understood by the reader. The style should be specific, emphatic, and concise. Instead of jigsaw, a good writer of English has to change as a writing model. That is, within a sentence, each word forms a chain to make the meaning of the sentence clear, and also each sentence forms a chain with the next sentence, so that the reader can get the content easily. Next slide. General structure of a paragraph. Every paper has a title and the reader knows where to find it. That is, at the top of the first paper of the paper, readers knows that the title will be followed by the abstract, and at the end of the paper, they expect to find the literature cited. Just as a reader, they may have some expectations with regard to how a section, paragraph, and a sentence should be structured. Each paragraph is a microcosm of a paper, which is a small subset of a whole that is generally considered to representative of a whole. It has its own title. The intermediate sentences or like the sections of the paper, and the last sentences is like the conclusion. Next slide.
So just to be very simple, a paragraph will have a small introduction. So that first line of the paragraph will say what you're going to say in the paragraph, and then the body of the paragraph will be there, which will be the explanation of what you have started to say, and the last line will be like a conclusion. We say it's like a conclusion because it just concludes what you have started in the beginning of the paragraph. Okay, so this is how it will be structured. It will be like a small paper there. Okay, so each paragraph will be like that. So it should be like that. Just go through your project and find out whether you have just written like that. Is there any continuity between the first paragraph and the second paragraph? Is there introduction or a title for the paragraph, which you don't actually, you just don't put it as a side title or side heading, but you know that this is what this paragraph is just trying to say. Okay, and is there a conclusion part also in your paragraph? Just check and see. Continue.
First paragraph of a new section begin with a mini summary plus information. Readers do not necessarily read the paper from beginning to end. They may begin with any section in the paper. Means you could consider starting some sections. It may be from introduction, discussion, or conclusion, with one or two sentences, a sentence summary of the main aims or findings of the paper. In a summary, we can also use a personal style and impersonal style. You should keep references as short as possible, as they can become quite heavy and annoying for the reader. Thank you, ma'am. Next slide, Ashira will present, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. To continue, my first topic is first paragraph of a new section. Go directly to the point. In some cases, like short papers, there we may not have much space to mini summarize the content at the beginning of the sections or the subsections. So readers also won't take time or won't have the inclination to read them. In such cases, we need the direct approach. Being direct doesn't mean to tell what you did, but telling them what it means. So the better approach is like begin with the main information and then provide the implications. Next slide. Deciding where to put new and old information within a paragraph. Non-information is traditionally placed at the beginning of a sentence of a paragraph. When you read this version 1, it is an abstract from a paper titled Readability and Non-Native English Speakers. When you read it, the first word itself is readability, which is one of the author's keywords. So it immediately alerts the reader to the topic of the sentence and of the abstract as a whole. The role of first sentence is to set the context and gently guide the reader into the paragraph, whereas the third sentence introduces the new element. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. When it comes to this version 2, it is also an abstract, but when you read it, the author still begins with his keyword readability, but precedes it with the word current, which signals to the reader that the author will then probably propose a new alternative. Next. Before that. Okay. In this version 3, it contains only new information. It is designed to immediately attract the reader's attention. Okay, so when it comes to version 1, within the first 50 words, there is no new information at all. In version 2, it has 40 to 50% of new information. So which version should we have to use? Next slide. The best version depends on two factors. First one is the section of the paper, and second is what you're trying to achieve. So version 1 is appropriate for abstract, but information can be used in introduction also. And version 2 is appropriate for both abstract and introduction in a specialized journal. And version 3 would only be appropriate in an abstract and exclusively in a very specialized journal to have clear finding, clear new methodology, etc. Next slide. Okay. Next is deciding where to put new and old information in a sentence. So here sentence 1 and sentence 2 begin with the same subject, English. In both cases, if you remove the word which, the sentence would still make sense, but if you remove the final clause, it wouldn't. Thus, the relative position of the various parts of the phrase tells the reader the relative importance of the information contained on those parts. Readers tend to focus on the first and last words of a sentence, so avoid placing your most important information in the middle of a long sentence. Readers don't want to make an effort to identify the key points. They want to be told immediately. Next one. Next. Okay. Here are some more examples that show how by changing the order of information within a sentence can achieve different effect. When you read S3, reader learns some some information. In S4, the reader is immediately alerted to the fact that the information contained at the beginning of the sentence is going to be qualified by new information in the second part. But in sentence 5, the writer assumes that the reader already knows the importance. When you read this sentence, you can understand that the writer assumes the reader already knows the importance like of Chinese and instead focus on the fact that despite the increase in the number of the Chinese speakers, English is still studied by a lot of people. Here still is the key word and it is located very close to the end of the sentence. Here S3 to S5 all contain the same information, but the weight that this information is given varies. In sentence 6 and 7, the writer wants the reader to notice and absorb the two pieces of important information separately. This is done by presenting the information in two distinct sentences. This should not be used too often because it can lead to a series of very short sentences which after a while begin to sound like a list. Next slide. Okay, link each sentence by moving from general concepts to increasingly more specific concepts. As shown, the key issue is when linking up sentences in a paragraph. It is to decide how to link one sentence to the previous one. When you read this paragraph, the sentence 1 talks about soil, which is the topic, and sentence 2 talks up more specifically about the quantity of the pollution. And sentence 3 reports the impact of the sentence 2, that is the chemical mentioned in this sentence 2. But sentence 4 does not continue this logical progression. It begins with the word soil in the topic position. This breaks the logical progression. So the formula should be like sentence 1 should start with the main topic, that is soil, introducing the subtopic pollution. And in sentence 2, the subtopic 1, that is pollution, is specified by introducing the subtopic 2, that is the millions of chemicals. And sentence 3, along with subtopic 2, introduces the subtopic 3. And in sentence 4 should be related to the subtopic 3. So this has to continue. So basically, each sentence is linked in a chain. A full chain is a paragraph, and a series of link chains makes up the section. And the next will be continued by Vidyasagar.
One second, ma'am. I'll just start. Good afternoon. So the present and explain ideas in same sequence. So the main important point of this is the sequence of, if I'm defining a some particular topic, let's say the introduction part. So what is in the introduction? What I am doing, or if I say the methodology, the when I'm explaining the methodology, that should be in a sequence from where I started, what happened next, what happened next. Because if I put something in between from because if I put in between something else from other paragraph or some other example without context, it will be a disturbance, or it will be a we can say a breakage in the flow. So people will not be able to understand the flow of the ongoing topic. So it is very important to not jump from a topic to another topic without any context. So when you are changing the topic, like if I'm going from methodology to some other technique or something other which is used by the other person or other researcher. So I should say that because these are the things which are used by other. Because if I suddenly change from one to other, everyone will not understand that what happened in the flow, because they were trying to process the previous information. So there should not be any other topic or idea inserted in between in between one, because that might confuse the reader. So just saying, like if I'm saying a myoelectric prosthesis or something, if I'm talking about it and like a type of method used in that, like this is how it is we can say this is how the electric potential is acquired from our hand, then it is converted into the machine format which moves the hand. So when I'm explaining this idea, I cannot insert any other thing between this, because then people will not understand. They will be confused what is going on, like why there was a sudden change. So while changing the topic or addressing something new, there we should always say this thing in form of example, or we should pre-mention that this is something else without jumping directly. Next one. Don't force readers to change their perception. So as I said, when a person is reading a paragraph, he will always make a perception of something in his mind. So if when he reaches the 75% of the paragraphs, he will have a basic idea of what I am saying or what I am trying to explain in that paragraph. So suddenly after that fifth or sixth line, I cannot change something. I cannot switch it suddenly, or abrupt changes cannot be made in that, because then there will be a blank space in person's mind who is reading. So he'll not be able to process the thing, because till now he read something else and then I put up another idea or another concept in between. So he'll be lost between previous one and the new one. So the idea of efficiently providing a perception to the reader will be lost. The topic going to be the paper should be proper sequence. As I said, in the sequence is a very important part, because we cannot say it like one, step two, step three, then step four, otherwise then step six, and then step five. We cannot do that, right? Because then the context and efficiency of the conveying will be lost. Next. Numbering and list. So when we number something, or just rather than just putting dots or arrows as we do in Microsoft and all while doing, so numbering makes it easy to get to understand the data more efficiently. Okay, like say there is a number of equipment, the parts, number of parts in a machine we are explaining. So if we have mentioned it in a numeric form, like 1, 2, 3, 4, so we know the 20 parts are there, and we can remember that 20 parts are there. If we just put dots or arrows, we won't be remembering that 20 parts are there. So in between the data will be lost. And another use of this numbering system is that we can, while reporting or while making the data in a collective form at the end of the conference or presentation, we can know that these much things were there, these number of components were introduced, these number of points were there. Like while presenting the paper also, we give the number to every topic, like abstract is 1, introduction to, these kind of things. So it is easy for the reader or to the referee or the person who is evaluating to understand things in better way, the data in a better way. Next. Yeah. Starting a new paragraph while stating about the study done. So study done and methodology is a very important part, because that gives much information about how you process the data. Like if I say I am from biomedical department, so if I'm making some new equipment for the patients, so I have to collect a set of data from patients, like from we can say disabled person, from 5 disabled person and 5 abled person. So that range should be mentioned in the study, like how many people I have tested on and how they responded. So these kind of things are very important when I am presenting a paper. So these are the key things I can say, because that shows the effort and the efficiency of the paper, like the efficiency of your work there, because the more the range of data collection is important. So while starting the study on, there should be a different paragraph, and it should be very brisk, like it should be very small at a time, very informative thing, because no one is going to read long paragraphs. And so as I said, the perception of the person change as long the paragraph is, like if a person read from the paragraph and he goes from uh, first line to 70th line, so his perception will change and he will not remember what he read in first 20 lines. So that should be very short. Okay, the data should be very rememberable, we can say, like it should be easy to recall if someone asks what was there. So the study done or the methodology part should be a different paragraph with a very neat presentation. Next will be presented by other participant. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll just have a break here. Anu, you are the next person, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
So you've been continuously presenting. So I would like to give you 5 minutes break, and I'd like to remind you something that you people said that you'll be having 4 to 4:40 class today, isn't it? So you are comfortable, isn't it? No problem there.
No, ma'am, no problem.
Okay.
No,
Yes.
ma'am, it's fine, ma'am.
Very good, very good. So we'll just take just 5 minutes break, and we'll be coming back. And I'm going to just join in my mobile also with the people, because I'll be coming around, and just mute it here. There will be. Oh, okay. Okay, just 5 minutes. We'll continue. Okay. So maybe oh, it's okay, Vidyasagar. We can adjust, no problem. Till you have power, you'll just be there. Yes. So 5 minutes in the sense, take it as 4:15. 4:20 we'll join again. 4:20 we'll join again. Okay. Be there. Don't leave the meeting. Okay.
Yes, Anu, we can start now.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, is my screen visible?
Yes, ma, it is visible.
Yes. Good evening, all. To continue the presentation, I'm going to talk about breaking up long paragraphs and what phrases can be used to start new paragraphs, and also how to conclude a paragraph by avoiding the redundancy. So, breaking up long paragraphs is extremely important. Long blocks of text are actually visually unappealing for the readers. Also, to make points and the related logical sequence of these points to be more clearly identifiable, separate paragraphs should be used. It will also help the readers, it will also help the writer to more clearly write by using the shorter paragraphs. Another one advantage of using shorter paragraphs is that it will enable us to quickly identify and add extra information without taking a lot of time. So the maximum length of a paragraph in a well-written research paper should be about 15 lines. But most paragraphs are preferred to be shorter than this. So if we have already written more than 8 to 12 lines or 4 to 6 sentences, then what we should do is we must first reread the paragraph. Then we should think about where we can create a new paragraph so that we can split up the larger ones into the smaller ones. Basically, there is an opportunity to begin a new paragraph every time there is a change in focus. So, while reading one larger paragraph, if we find that there are 2 or more ideas covered in the same paragraph, then we can break them at the place where the new concept or idea begins. These are some of the phrases which can be used to begin new paragraphs, and also which can be added in to increase the readability. In order to this end, with this mind, these phrases can be used to state the purpose of something. For instance, you outline a requirement and then you begin to say how you could meet this requirement. The phrases in addition, another way to do, an additional feature of, these can be used to add additional points to the sentences. Due to, since, although, these are used to give reasons for something. The next is thus, therefore, consequently, because of this. These are used to indicate a consequence. Figure 1, as you already know, figure 1 shows as can be seen in table 2. These are used to talk about figures, tables, etc. Firstly, secondly, finally, these are used to introduce elements in a list or to mention the steps of a process. It is worth noting that, or interestingly, is also used to add some additional information or to make some comment. Concluding a paragraph, avoid redundancy. Redundancy is nothing but while writing the same thing again and again using different phrases, we call it as redundancy. So avoid making constant mini summaries. Some readers might begin to get bored and start skipping the whole paragraph. This means that the beginning of a paragraph should move on from where the previous paragraph ended. In some cases, some writers, what they do is they'll sum up a paragraph at the end of each paragraph. So that is also a redundancy. This should be avoided. What we have to do is the first paragraph and the second paragraph should have a logical link. There is no need of summarizing or introducing anything in between. Also, while introducing a new topic, it should be related to the previous one. We should not abruptly change the topic to another one idea. So some authors end a section by talking about the coverage of the next section. But such information is also redundant. That is what I mentioned earlier. While ending a paragraph, we need not introduce about the next upcoming paragraph. We can just start the next paragraph directly. To summarize the chapter 4, always think about your readers and order the information you give them in the most logical way and in the simplest form. Then we have to begin each sentence with a topic sentence. We have to begin a paragraph with topic sentence and then use the rest of the paragraph to develop this topic. We have to move from the general to the increasing specific. We should not mix the two. The logic should be flowing in a correct manner. Always progress in the most logical and consistent order. Do not go backwards or forwards. Also, break up long paragraphs and begin a new paragraph. Avoid redundancy in the final paragraph of the session. Thank you.
Good. So I think your team has completed, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think we can stop here. We'll start with the next topic in the next class. Is that fine? Fine with all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for joining. Bye-bye. Take care, ma.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Be ready with some of the questions. I'll be asking questions on what we have dealt today.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.